Welcome, everybody. Welcome in the room. It is Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. And of course, you are here live with Coach Steele's Finance Training. And of course, I am live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on TikTok as well. So you all come on in the room. You're here for another session with Coach Steele. I am Coach Steele, and you are, like I said before, here live at Coach Steele's Finance Training, where we talk about all things financial literacy. And so we take the complicated things and we simplify them so that everyone can understand. And so now that everyone can understand, we are all on the same level where we can grow financially. And so I'm excited on today. Normally, I'll come with a specific topic here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, whether we are talking about real estate or whether we are talking about compound interest, whether we are talking about investing. The subject matters, change. We talk about entrepreneurship. We talk about how mental health is important with growing wealth as well. Good morning to my beautiful wife, Yvette Steele. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. As you come on in the room, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you greet me, say hello. You can tell me where you're tuning in from if you would like. And so we have an international audience here at Coach Steele's Finance Training. People all the way from America to Africa to Cyprus, you name it. We have people that tune in all over. And so happy to have everyone tuning in on today. And today I wanted to do a bit of a question and answer session. Normally I'm doing a lot of the talking and bringing up the subjects. And so as you all jump in the room and the comment section on Facebook and the chat section on YouTube, I'm interested to hear, what are some questions that you may have. And so I want to give back and possibly provide some answers to you that might point you in the right direction. It may not answer your question completely, but maybe I can point you in the right direction and get you going and get the ball rolling for you. But thank you for tuning in on today here at Coach Steele's Finance Training. And as you all are coming in the room and you may have some questions that you may want to ask when it comes to financial literacy, I'm going to talk about different things along the way as well. So you are more than welcome, like I mentioned, to ask some questions. Feel free to ask some questions. And of course, I don't know everything, and you should always do your own homework and conduct due diligence in everything that you do. That way you make sure you're making the right decision for yourself financially. Don't just rely on one person to give you all the answers to the test of life. So, and as we are coming to, I guess, the second part of this year of 2025, guys, I want you to think about it. It's August 30th. And so we have September, October, November, and December. So there's about 4 more months left in this year. I'm excited. I can't wait to get to 2026. And you should be excited too. Why? Because if you truly have financial goals, if you truly have things you want to accomplish, if you're part of Coach Steele's Finance Training and you are making your money multitask, you should be excited about 2026 coming and what financial benefits that are in place for you. The things that you've put in place, the things you've been working on, you should be excited because you're going to get to see great things happen for you in that financial space. All 2025, beginning of 2025, here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, we have been putting together plans and financial strategies to help ourselves grow. We have been increasing our financial intelligence. We have been increasing our financial literacy strategically so that we can put these principles, these fundamentals to practice so that we can see the fruit of our labor, so that we can see the fruit of what our money has been doing. Of course, many of you have probably wondered, where did you get this shirt from? Make money multitask. Of course, if I stand up a little bit, you'll see the money man here. The money man is multitasking, guys. We are putting our money in different places, in different asset classes. Why? Because we want our money to do the work. We spend so many years of our lives working, sweating, but there's more creative ways to build wealth. There's more creative ways to build a legacy and generational wealth if you learn how to make your money multitask. So that's just one of the t-shirts that I have on my website. So feel free to go to my website and order a t-shirt. Some of you are probably wondering, what's your website? Well, it's down there at the bottom of the ticker, ladies and gentlemen. And you'll see it right here. It says www.steels with an S, steelsfinanceacademy.com. Just go to the website, get you a t-shirt. That way you can wear what you believe. You can wear what you want to practice. And so just to give you a sample or example, and we're going to dive into the subject about financial literacy. We're going to go a little bit deeper in a second, but some of you may be new to Coach Steele's finance training, and I want to make sure I let you know where you can get yourself some product. So of course, as you see here, and you're looking, whether it's a white t-shirt, whether it's a silver t-shirt, you can basically go get almost whatever color you want here at Coach Steele's finance training. So definitely enjoy yourself in that shirt with making money multitask. All right, so let's get back to business. Now, if y'all are on TikTok, you probably can't see the shirts, but that's fine. You can go to the website and see the shirts. All right, so anyway, back to the matter at hand. Let's see here. We were talking about, as we come towards the end of the year, and we have about 4 months left. By a show of hands or by comments, I'm interested to find out how many of you all are hitting your target goals financially for 2025. How many of you are on track, or how many of you feel that you may be behind and you're not hitting your targets this year? I'm interested to find that out, because as we continue, let's see here, in 2025, based on setting realistic goals and plans that we put in place in January here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, you should be pretty much on track. And so that's something I want you to evaluate. Sometimes people get frustrated about life events or things that happen. And when that happens, they will give up on their goals. They'll quit. They'll throw in the towel. And you shouldn't do that. You should not give up just because you got set back by a little bit, or an event happened that threw your whole financial plan off. And so quitting is easy, but you got to get back on that horse and jump right back on your plan, and you can still accomplish those goals. There may be a quicker way to catch back up and get on track that you didn't know about and that you didn't think about, or you never knew. So guys, I really want you to keep that in mind as we're here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. And like I said, today is more of a question and answer session. Normally what I would do is I come on here and I talk about different topics. I talk about different subjects when it comes to financial literacy. And today I'm opening the floor. Usually I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. If you are not a subscriber on the YouTube channel, make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Good morning to you, Mr. Tony Sherman. I see you tuning in. As you tune in, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section so I can greet you and tell you hello, as well as you all tune in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Today is a question and answer session for everybody that's tuning in. Make sure you share the live as well. And so when it comes to financial literacy, guys, I like to coach and get people going in the right direction so that they can have financial success. Many times when I talk about how I paid a 30-year mortgage off in 3.7 years, people say, wait a minute, how in the world are you able to take a 30-year mortgage and pay it off in 3.7 years? Well, I teach a system that is called the HELOC strategy. Many people have heard about it. Some people feel like that's not real, or, oh, it may not work, or it may not apply to me. Guess what? It costs nothing to run your numbers to see if that system works for you. Many people are what we call pessimistic and not optimistic. They will think of everything negative as to why something won't work for them, as opposed to thinking positive on why potentially things will work positive for them. So when it comes to financial literacy and accomplishing your goal, many times it starts right here in your mind. Where's your mind at? Do you have negative thoughts? If you have negative thoughts when it comes to finances, guess what? You're probably going to be limited on the success that you can have. But do you have positive thoughts? And so you have to switch your mindset up when it comes to financial literacy to where you can think positive and you can be empowered. I was just talking to someone the other day, and they said, and many people who tune in to Coach Steele's finance training, they know that I am heavily invested in a lot of my portfolio. I'm heavily invested into real estate. And so I love real estate investing. And when I was talking to the young lady, well, she's not young, she's 32, but 32 is young to me. And so when I was talking to her, she said, well, I don't know if I want to do real estate because I'm afraid of it. I said, well, what are you afraid of? So when it comes to financial literacy, if you have fears, guess what? Just deal with the fear. There's certain things that you may be afraid of. Happy to have you tuning in, Miss Keep It Classy. Thank you for tuning in here on TikTok. When it comes to dealing with fear, you have to find out what the fear is. She said, well, I have a fear. Like, what if I buy this real estate property and then when I buy it, what if I can't pay the bill? What if I can't pay that mortgage? What if the tenant moves out? And she was coming up with all of these what if negatives and not any of the what if positives. I said, so you mean to tell me if someone's selling a house that's worth $200,000 and they sell it to you for $100,000? So that means you have $100,000 worth of equity, right? If they sell it to you and you're up $100,000 in equity, you bought it for only $100,000. You're so afraid of if the tenant doesn't pay the rent that you won't buy this house? And she said, wait a minute. So I'm up $100,000? I said, yes. She said, well, then I would buy it. I said, but wait a minute, what about the fear? She said, well, I'm not worried then because I said, you can always sell it, right? She said, yeah, I can sell it. And I walk away about $90,000 to $100,000 profit. I said, so then why are you afraid of real estate if you can put parameters in place to deal with the fear that you have? Some of you deal with the fear and don't deal with parameters, principles, and numbers and math, things that you can do to help cover down on the problem you may be concerned about. So it began to shift her mindset, and we began to go into this other conversation about real estate. And I gave her some of the examples that I have. And of course, if you tune in to Coach Steele's finance training, many of you have heard some of the examples. I talk about a property years ago, it was worth $50,000, but I bought it for $31,000. I wasn't afraid of if the tenant didn't pay. I'm up $19,000. I can sell it for $40,000 or $45,000 and walk away with the profit. So what is my point? Sometimes we say things that don't make sense financially because we're afraid. When you're afraid to grow financially, when you're afraid to step out, you will say things out of fear that don't make sense. You will say things that don't math properly because you're going off of only what you know, and you're coming from a negative place that is going to hinder you from experiencing growth. On today here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, we're doing a question and answer session. And so I'm spending time answering any questions that you all may have. We have a lot of people tuning in on the Facebook and YouTube channel. And I got a good number of people here with me on TikTok as well. Regardless where you are, make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Good morning to you, Mr. Johnson. Yes, Tony Sherman. It is a mindset change is very, very important when it comes to financial literacy. And so as I continue to talk to this young lady about real estate, she began to shift and she said, wait a minute, I've been looking at this all wrong. And she said, I need to have more conversations with you when it comes to investing because I've been operating off of fear and not using facts and knowledge and information when it comes to that field. And so I really enjoy conversations like that are fruitful. And what am I telling you all? Earlier, I was talking about using the HELOC strategy to pay my mortgage off. And I went from 30-year mortgage to I paid it off in 3 years and 7 months. So what does that do, ladies and gentlemen? That frees up my cash flow. Whatever my mortgage payment was in 3.7 years, I was no longer giving that money to the bank plus the interest that the bank gets as well. And so if you buy a house for $100,000, especially right now with the interest rates over 6%, you're going to end up paying what? $200,000 for that house. If you just bought a house for $300,000, if you pay it for 30 years, based on that interest rate, you're probably going to end up paying about, if it's for $300,000, you'll end up paying $600,000 if you pay it the full term of those 30 years. Which is why I teach people the HELOC strategy on how to pay their mortgage off at an accelerated rate, so that way they can be done with the mortgage payment. They don't keep giving the bank money. And guess what? You increase your cash flow. So when you don't have overhead in your life, when you don't have all these extra payments going to a financial institution, whether it's credit cards, personal loans, student loans, car notes, and a mortgage. Why can I say it so fast, guys? Because I teach people this Monday through Friday, all the time, multiple clients. And so I have some clients, they may only make 30, 40,000 a year. I have some clients that make millions of dollars a year. Guess what? The fundamentals don't change. They don't change no matter how much less you make or how much more you make. The financial fundamentals can still get you to the finish line no matter who you are. And so I thank you all as you continue to tune in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. We have a family. We have a community here. Good morning to you, Shauna Johnson. I see you tuning in. Good morning to you, JJ. I see you tuning in here on TikTok. Harrison, thank you for tuning in on TikTok on today. We're talking about financial literacy, and I am opening the floor for a question and answer session today for some of you all that may have questions. Good morning. Happy to have you tuning in on today, Felicia Johnson. And so with that question and answer session, what questions might you have? Is there some people out there, you have debt and you're looking how to get rid of that debt? I teach people how to pay off their mortgage and their consumer debts. And of course, those fundamentals do not change. As I mentioned, you can execute these plans. You can execute these strategies. And there's a system to doing it. Some people would say, well, Coach Steele, why would you pay off your mortgage when you can take all of that money and you can invest it in the stock market and you can invest it somewhere for 30 years? And the money that you build up over a period of time, the value and the compounding interest that will happen from it will be able to pay your mortgage, will be able to pay those bills over a period of time. And I tell people, I said, can you guarantee me that financially nothing will happen over the next 30 years to where my income won't stop, or there won't be another issue that happens to where I can continue? Thank you, Redbone, for tuning in on TikTok as we talk about financial literacy on today. And so you all can throw in your questions in that comment section if you like, as we talk about financial literacy. But you can't guarantee for the next 30 years that job won't lay you off or something won't happen. But guess what? If I can take a 30-year mortgage and pay it off in 3 years and 7 months, if we can take 30-year mortgages and pay them off in 5 to 7 years, I can eliminate all debt so I can invest like crazy and have good success. And so it's easier to eliminate debt, increase your cash flow, and invest. So then no matter what happens in your life, you don't have to worry about someone being able to potentially take your house from you, because now you have just basic bills and expenses that you have to cover from month to month. It is easier to live. If something happens on your job, you don't panic and stress as much, because one of your biggest bills and financial expenses that you have is taken care of when that mortgage is paid off. And I know I have some people that rent here. Guess what? If you rent and you have car notes and you have personal loans, student loans, credit cards, guess what? You need to start looking at how to eliminate those things strategically. And also, just like you can use the HELOC strategy to get rid of your mortgage and consumer debt, you can use a PLOC or a BLOC strategically as well to eliminate those consumer debts if you know how to run the system properly. And there are some people, they say, well, I don't have good credit. And so, therefore, I can't use those financial tools to eliminate my debt like I want to. It's no problem at all. Good morning to you, Miss Tarsha Smith. I see you tuned in on today as well. Because you can use cash flow index numbers, snowball method, avalanche method. You can be creative on how you eliminate debt in this world. You're not stuck to only one system. Some of us, we limit ourselves and what we're capable of. And I always have to remind people, there were times where I couldn't even live month to month. I didn't have enough money to pay all my bills. I had to be strategic. I had to learn how to budget properly. And when I finally started having budgeting success, I only had $10 left over at the end of every month. And I was happy that I finally had $10 left over at the end of every month. When you all first started budgeting properly and you started having financial success and you weren't living paycheck to paycheck, how much money did you have left over at the end of every month? For me, I remember it was like $10. And then I went from $10 left over at the end of every month to where I started having $25. When I had $25 left over at the end of every month, I said I can finally start investing. I got excited. Why? Because I could make my money multitask, guys. I could finally start making my money do some work for me instead of me doing all the work. It only makes sense. Wealthy people in America, the wealthy make their money do a lot of the work, and they use their brain and not all the physical toil and work that it takes for the average person. I can't say we, because I make my money multitask. What the average person does, which is go do a 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 job, because if you use that 9 to 5 properly, guess what? You can use that 9 to 5 income to free you from that 9 to 5 situation, or give you the flexibility to do whatever 9 to 5 you choose to do, whatever your passion is. And so, guys, just want to let you know on today, budgeting correctly works. Budgeting is not a bad word. Some people say, well, I don't like the word budget, or I don't think you have to budget. You can just make more money. No matter how you call it, if you evaluate what you have coming in and going out and you're being strategic with it, that's a part of budgeting. So call it whatever you need to. So anyway, guys, as we continue to have this conversation about financial literacy and doing the right thing with your finances, understand that you may have to start from the ground up. You may have to, like I did, start below ground, below sea level. You know, I was in the negative. And so now as I continue to grow and make progress in my life, I don't have to only start with have $25 left over at the end of every month. As I use certain principles and fundamentals that work, that have been proven to help me have success over years and years, I am able to grow. But when I first got that $25, guys, I took the $25 and I started investing it, and I started putting my $25 in a Roth IRA. I got excited about a Roth IRA because I was educating myself on what a Roth IRA was. And so I could finally put my money in a retirement account. And before that, I felt like there was no way that I could start a retirement, but I had to start somewhere, right? And so now I'm putting $25 a month into this Roth IRA, and it's attached to the stock market, and I got excited about that. Then, of course, it just continued to build. Next thing you know, I could put $50 a month. Then I was able to start a Roth IRA account for my wife, and it just continues to grow. What am I telling you on today? I need you all to start somewhere. I need to motivate someone to let you know, don't give up, don't quit. No matter what has happened in your life thus far, you can make financial success a priority in your life, and you can accomplish those goals. You're never too young. You're never too old. You can still have financial success, because some of the goals that you're trying to reach, you're going to hit them faster. And there's something about compounding success in your life. Listen to what I'm telling you on today. There's something about compounding success in the financial realm. So if it takes you I don't know, 3 years to make $100,000. When you get to that $100,000 value, that level of wealth, and you're trying to get to 200,000, it's probably not going to take 3 years to get to 200,000. Usually it takes longer in those initial phases. And when you try to get to 200,000, it's much quicker. When you try to get to 500,000, it's much quicker. When you're trying to get to 1,000,000, it's much quicker. It's not going to take as long, but you have to get started with your goals, because as you make your money, multitask, guys. As you start investing in asset classes, whether they're big or small, they start increasing in value. They start hedging against inflation. And now you start getting ahead, and you're not just trying to keep up. You're not just trying to catch up. You are ahead of schedule. You start climbing that ladder. And all of a sudden, these assets, the money is multitasking and working for you. And before you know it, you look up at what you've built, and it has grown faster than what you expected. When you have assets, you can leverage those assets to buy other assets. And so when you can buy assets, like I mentioned, below the value of what they are, and you walk into different investments with equity, then it puts you ahead of the game. And that's why wealthy people, when the market crashes, when things go bad, people get afraid and they pull their money out and the value of things drop. Wealthy people dive in. When the average people get out of the pool because it seems dangerous, wealthy people jump in the pool, and they are able to acquire assets below value, and they buy them in bulk, and they sit back and wait for things to get back on track, and they wait for everyone to dive back into the pool, and of course the value goes up. And think about it. You ever seen someone, guys, like let's say you get a bath, you run water for a bath. When you run water for the bath water is at a certain height. Now, when you dive in that water, not dive in the bathtub, when you get in the water rises. Guess what? It goes up. But if you were to get back out, good morning to you, Kashana Johnson. I see you on TikTok as well. Thank you for tuning in. When you get out, the water goes back down. So when most people get out of the pool, whatever it is, the market, stock market, real estate, whatever it is, and the water drops, the value drops, wealthy people dive in. We enjoy it. We love it. Why? Because we know that the value is going to go back up. And because the value is going to go back up, we know we're going to make a lot of money. And so all of a sudden, everybody dives back in the pool, things get back right, it goes up, and at that point, either we maintain and hold that wealth, or we cash out and we walk away with the money. And so you have to start switching and adjusting your mindset. But before you can dive into those different asset classes, you really need to evaluate what you have coming in and going out, ladies and gentlemen, on today. And you really need to start evaluating, do I need to get rid of some of this consumer debt that is eating up my cash flow? Because what you don't want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is when it comes to investing and the timing of an investment, peace and blessings to you, Game Changers Ministry. Thank you for tuning in as well on today. And we're doing a question and answer session on today. So if you got questions, maybe I got some answers for you that can help point you in the right directions when it comes to financial literacy. And so what you don't want to do is rush to invest, but you haven't taken care of certain debts that are really eating up your cash flow. And also, whatever you're trying to invest in over here, if that debt is growing at a fast pace, especially those nasty credit cards at 22, 30%, whatever it is, it's going to eat up that wealth that you're trying to grow anyway. So it's better to get rid of that debt that's sitting over here, growing, that infection of debt that's growing. It's better to get rid of that than to rush and try to grow wealth. You want to be able to make good progress when it comes to cleaning up your debt. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in Latanya. Thank you. Happy to have you here at Coach Skills Finance Training. We are talking about financial literacy today. We're opening the floor for question and answers on today if people have questions. And sometimes, like I told you all earlier, when I paid my mortgage off in 3 years and 7 months using the HELOC strategy, some people came to me and said, but wait a minute. If you pay your mortgage off fast, then you don't have that tax write-off for your interest that you paid on your mortgage. I want you all to think about something on today. Do you want to have the tax write-off for the interest that you were paying every year on your mortgage? Remember, I told you, if you pay that interest for 30 years, you're going to probably pay twice for that house. And that's if you don't refinance it. Most people end up refinancing their mortgage. That's why they've been paying for the same house for 35, 40, 50 years. Now, think about this. When they say, but if you pay that mortgage off early, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts and comments on today about this. If you pay that mortgage off fast, then you don't have that ability for the, it makes no sense that my brain is even trying to forget it. You don't have the ability to write off the interest you paid on your mortgage for the tax write-off. What if you paid, I don't know, let's say you paid $2,000 worth of interest every year. Let's do the math on this. Every year, because your mortgage, you pay $2,000 worth of interest. Which one do y'all want? Do you want to be able to write off the $2,000 of interest on your mortgage? Or do you no longer want to have a mortgage payment? I can't wait to hear y'all responses. Y'all are tuning in. If you are live on TikTok with me, Facebook, YouTube, I want to hear your response. Do you still want to be able to write off the $2,000 or the $4,000 that you pay on interest on your taxes? Or would you rather not have a mortgage payment? I want you all to think about what is your mortgage payment every month. Multiply that times 12. And then look at how much interest you pay on your mortgage. As y'all are tuning in, do you want, the question is, would you rather pay your mortgage off and no longer have a mortgage payment every single month? And we're talking about the principal and interest portion of your mortgage. Or would you rather leave your 30-year mortgage in place so that you can have the tax write-off for the interest that you paid for the year? All right, I got one answer. I got one answer from Mr. Tony Sherman. He says, I'd rather have 12K versus 2K tax written off. Now check this out. So what Mr. Tony is saying in his example is, if his mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 for the year. If the interest he pays on his mortgage is $2,000, does he want a potential $2,000 write-off? Or would he rather put $12,000 back in his pocket? So for him, he would rather pay the mortgage off early and not worry about a $2,000 potential write-off. And on top of that, I'm not a tax professional, but do you automatically get to write off the full $2,000, or is it a certain portion of that $2,000 you get to write off? So that's something else to think about, that as y'all are tuning in here on Coach Skills Finance Training. I would rather have that mortgage payment back in my pocket. I'd rather have the power of that principal and interest payment. So we got one answer. Somebody else may feel a different way. Somebody else may want that mortgage payment. What do we got going on today? I'm interested to hear your thoughts and comments on today. This is a question and answer session on today. Normally here on Coach Skills Finance Training, we talk about all things financial literacy. We make the complicated things simple. We break it down so that everyone can understand on a simple level. And of course, I like talking about financial freedom, learning how to be empowered, learning how to put your money to work. And so I thank everybody as you tune in on today. And we're talking about budgeting. We're talking about reaching our goals on 2025. We're talking about strategically being wise with our funds on today. And so Tony Sherman says 0 mortgage equals freedom. That's less overhead that he has. Okay. All right, let's see here. We do have a question. All right, let's go. We got a question from Latanya McLaughlin. All right, here we go. We are ready to buy a home, but we were told we don't have enough revolving credit. We have 2 credit cards, and he has a star card, but our cards are paid off. So what does that mean? What do they mean by that? I love this question. Why? Because it really exposes the whole system and the flaws of the system. And I like this question because it gets me on my soapbox, right? Now, they're told they don't have enough revolving credit to buy a home because they only have 2 credit cards. But the cards are paid off. In other words, okay, she says their cars are paid off. So that's what she's saying. When I read the part, she said, but our cards are paid off. The cars are paid off. In other words, these financial institutions are saying to the McLaughlins that you have been too financially responsible. You stewarded your money so well that now you don't owe. Your cars are paid off. We can identify where you are borrowing money. And when these credit agencies can't identify where you are borrowing money at a certain level, then they don't reward you. It sounds crazy. If you were debt free, you didn't owe anybody, and you don't borrow money, that can have a negative result when it comes to your credit score. And it doesn't make sense. If I do everything right, if I steward right, if I pay for things in cash, if I pay everything off, why is my score, why am I being punished? They need to know, they want to test out, Latanya, do you borrow and do you pay back? Do you borrow at an extreme level that's dangerous, or do you borrow at a conservative level and comfortably pay it back? And so, unfortunately, in situations like that, you have to build a stronger credit profile. You have to do some things to make sure that it shows and identifies. Now, I've heard certain financial coaches and financial heads, whether it be Dave Ramsey and other people, that say, well, it's possible to still buy a house without having a strong credit score. And so I would talk with lenders. I would get with, if one person told you that, I would go get with other people to see what they say to get a second opinion, because it may be possible to still buy a house, or depending on the size of the house that you want to buy, that may also play a role in it too, well, on whether or not you would qualify. So one thing I did, Latanya, was my first house I bought years ago, back in 2004, I bought a small house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And at the time, I think it was like $75,000. It was very affordable. The monthly payment was like $600 and something. And so I stayed in the house for a little while. And then eventually I moved out. I paid it off and I rented it out. But while I was paying that house, guess what? It increased my credit score. And so, not to say that you all have to do that, but one thing you may look at is potentially buying a small house and then staying there for like a year, or even if you wanted to buy a duplex, stay there for a year and then rent that property out. Guess what? It's on your credit. You got a mortgage there. But then also now you put some tenants in that duplex or that fourplex or even that single family home. Credit has a boost and you're cash flowing because the tenant is going to pay you more than what that monthly mortgage payment is. And in my case, when I did it with that first house, ladies and gentlemen, as you're tuning in to Coach Phil's Finance Training, because that house was paid off when I moved out, it took me 7 years. Before I knew the HELOC strategy, it took me like 7 years to pay off the mortgage. Back then, when I moved out, because I didn't have a mortgage payment, the tenant was now paying for my second house. I used the rent from that starter home. I call those starter homes, guys. I used the money from there to pay for my mortgage for the next house that I moved into. And so I upgraded. I went from a 3-bedroom, 1-bath to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. and I didn't have to worry about the mortgage payment because it came from the starter home. So I'm not saying you need to go buy a whole house to improve your credit. There are some other basic things that you can do. And so definitely go find out. I would get a second opinion from other lenders. And there's some lenders out there that know how to be creative to make sure all of that works. But there's nothing wrong, like with your credit cards. If there's any, and I don't tell people to rush and use their credit cards, right? But let's say you have some credit cards. If you need to, one thing you can do throughout the month, take one of those cards, and let's say 30%, you only want to use maybe 30 to 33% of that card, right? So if the credit card has a $1,000 limit, only use maybe about $333, whatever it is. In that range, use it to buy your groceries, your gas, whatever. And then before that credit card company can charge you any interest, then just pay that card off every month. And what they're saying is also, you probably don't have a diversity. You don't have a diversified different types of credit. So all you have is credit card potential debt, but you don't have car debt. And are you currently in a home now, or are you all renting? I'm guessing you're renting right now, because then you would definitely have enough revolving credit if you're currently in a home right now. So my guess is you're probably renting, but there's not much diversity in your debt, which is a good thing. But according to the credit agency, the way they do the numbers and factor what your credit score is, to them, it's no bueno, it's no good. And so let's see here. Let me continue to go down the list here. Let's see what else we have here. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. But like I said, you can be creative. Start using those credit cards a little more. Stay within range. Pay it off before that due date, before they charge you interest. That way they can see that you're using that. And then if you wanted to, you can go do some things or purchase something or get a line of credit or whatever the case may be to show that you have a revolving line of credit. Maybe go apply for a PLOC, a personal line of credit. Use that as well. That way it diversifies as well. I'm not saying you have to go buy a starter home, but that you need to go buy a car, although you could, if you wanted to, find some, depending on how much cash flow you have, there may be a car out there that could be financed for $5,000. And if you just needed an extra car on the side, or I don't know, you might take that car and go use Turo with it and rent that car out to people, but you have it financed. So it shows a different type. So anything. My point is, if I'm going to create other different types of lines of credit or get into debt, I'm going to find a way to make that thing an asset. Like I said, a starter home, I'm going to eventually turn it into an asset to make it cash flowing. Tony Sherman says he's debt free and has over 800 FICO score, and told I don't have enough revolving credit. So I'm guessing he's saying maybe they told him that as well. Latanya says, thank you. A lender actually told us that, even though the VA will give us a COE. So that was mind blowing to me. Definitely go check out another lender. And she said she does have a strong credit score. Anything over 720 when it comes to real estate, that's pretty good. And okay, y'all are still active duty living on post. And so with that, definitely, I would definitely go try to find a property, a house, whether it's a single family home, or in y'all case, it may be a duplex and you only stay there for about a year and then rent out both doors. And now you got 2 doors and you got passive income coming from both properties. Or it's possible, depending on the deal you find, if you find a duplex or quadplex, essentially, whoever stays on the other side will be making the mortgage payment, and you all can continue to build your wealth. So don't allow this to slow you up from what you're trying to do. Actually allow it to let you be even more strategic with what you want to do next. Maybe go find a multifamily unit property with VA. VA will give you that certificate, and they will even do that with multifamily unit properties. You don't have to stay there forever. This may give you a plan to be able to make the house that you want to be even more affordable once you work all of this out. Definitely good question. Appreciate you tuning in. Anybody else have any questions here on Coach Steele's finance training? Things like that, are important to know that when it comes to getting a good credit score, when they look at your credit report, being able to have different types of debt matter, different types of whether it's credit card debt, whether it's a car note, whether it's a mortgage. And when you don't have different types of debt, it's not seen as a good thing. It's seen as a bad thing, although we know personally it's good if you don't have a lot of debt. All right, so here, as we are tuned in on Coach Steele's finance training, we're doing question and answer sessions, and I'm interested to see what type of questions that you all have. There's so much going on financially in the world, whether you got the big beautiful bill or whether you got Target firing their CEO. There's so much going on. There's so many moving parts. And so we see that when it comes to the finances or when it comes to the marketplace, we're starting to see a lot of extra things happen lately. We're even starting to see that when it comes to real estate, the market is starting to shift. I'm starting to see where it's going from a seller's market to where it's looking like a potentially shifting to a buyer's market. Why? Because I think some of the prices of houses are starting to drop. And that's another good thing for the McLaughlins is some of the housing prices in certain areas are starting to take a little dip. And so because homes aren't selling as fast, people are having to make adjustments. Sellers are having to make a few adjustments and drop that price down a little bit. And so another thing we're noticing is the interest rates are starting to take little tiny steps to drop back down. And so I think that's pretty cool too. So that may entice some more people to buy houses. Tony Sherman says rental around military installations is a win-win because soldiers always need a place to stay. And so definitely that's something to think about as well if you are an investor. Location, location, location. Being creative about what location you pick for your assets that you acquire. And that's something that I try to do as well. Try to be very strategic about the locations that I pick. And so property management already have a list of people that are looking for homes. And so when you marry up your property with a good property management team, especially in military towns, or if you're right next to a hospital or a factory and things like that, school, a good school system, it's not going to be difficult to find tenants. This is good. Good question. So follow-up question from Latanya McLaughlin. So follow-up question about getting diverse. So we're about to pay cash for furniture. Would we be better served by taking their offer to finance? Now that you're getting exactly what I'm saying. Those are some of the things I did because I didn't have debt. And so I had to improve my credit score. So this is what I do, Latanya. I say yes, finance the furniture, right? Because you're getting ready to try to buy a house and you need a little more diversity with credit. Agree to the financing. Now, you have the cash to pay for it, but check this out. Take the cash that you have to pay for it and sit that cash in a high yield interest savings account. That way that cash is making about 3.8 to 4% interest annually, annual percentage yield. And so the cash you have isn't just lying dormant, but it's in a high yield interest savings account. If you need a link for a high yield interest savings account, I can give you the link for that. Just let me know. And so the money is growing. Yes, you're paying this financing for a couple of months. The goal is to get to the house that you want to get to, right? So you pay the financing just for a little while, build up whatever it is that they need to see. And then once you get the house and once you get whatever it is you need and whatever happens, take that cash out of the high yield interest savings account and go ahead and pay off the furniture. And so those are just some of the basic things that you can do. It's pretty simple. And it's kind of like when I said with the credit card, find what bills and things that you got to pay every month, pay them with the credit card, pay it off before the charge date so that you can show you're using the credit cards. Basically, find things that you have to pay for anyway and dive into that game of getting it financed, but have a system to be able to pay it off once you get what you need. And on top of that, once you get that house in your name, once that house is in y'all's name, that's going to be on the credit score as well. And that's going to show some more diversity as well. And so definitely I would use the credit cards to pay for basic bills and expenses, pay them off before they charge you interest, and then get the furniture financed. But the cash you have, put it in a high yield interest savings account. That's just something I would do for right now. So anyway, as we continue to talk about financial literacy and being strategic with using our money to get what we need, I'm interested to hear your questions that you may have here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Coach Steele's Finance Training. Coach Steele's Finance Training. We are growing that subscription. We want to run it up. Thank you for tuning in on today, Mrs. Jones. Thank you for tuning in as well. And let's see, we have also on TikTok, Mama Fella. I think that's what it's called. Thank you for tuning in on today. Every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, we talk about all things financial literacy. Well, not everything in one weekend, on one day, but we take different subjects. We talk about different things. Like I said, whether it's how to build wealth, how to grow your money, basic budgeting strategies, investing, dividend stocks, real estate, you name it. The list goes on. When you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see the different subjects and videos that we talk about. Right now, we're going through a series. We're reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and we're evaluating and breaking down every chapter. And so we're taking our time and going through that. Many of you that are already subscribers on the YouTube channel, if you are behind and you haven't read the book, that's no problem at all, because I have a few other people that are trying to catch up and they're watching the videos. Mr. Tony Sherman said, not many questions because you have taught us well. And so thank you for that compliment, sir. And so as we're going through that book, we're having a conversation about the mindset and the logic of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and what makes sense. What are our thoughts about it? So definitely go order the book, continue to read the book. After you read the book, then go to the YouTube channel, click on the live tab, and watch the video as I go over some of that thing in the chat, some of those things in that chapter. Feel free to comment on the YouTube channel in that chat section, because I want to hear your thoughts as well about the book. And so, guys, we are on chapter 6 right now. So go ahead and get where you are and catch up. But we're on chapter 6. It's not a difficult read. It's a pretty interesting book. And we'll probably jump back on chapter 6 in the next few weeks. Latanya says, thank you so much. This was great. The Holy Spirit said to tune in today. He hated how annoyed I was with the system. We wanted to be financially free and keep our debt to income ratio low, but the system says we still need you to be in debt. That's just wild. Exactly. That's why I find creative ways to get off the system. And so, guys, Latanya says, can you tell me about other method you said you use to your financial freedom? And so I will try my best to tell you about other methods I use to get to financial freedom. One of them is called the HELOC strategy, and that's to pay off your mortgage and any potential consumer debt that you have as well. Credit cards, personal loans, student loans, mortgage, and so, or car notes. And so that's the HELOC strategy that I use. Once you get your house, connect with me, Latanya, and I will give you some more information about that. And so, yes, the system wants you to stay in debt, but you don't have to. Some people feel like they have to die with debt. Some people feel like it's okay to have debt. I'm not here to argue with you on whether it's okay or not. Yes, some of us believe that there's good debt and some of us believe that there's bad debt. And so we're talking about two different things here, right? So I'm not talking about good debt versus bad debt. I'm talking about bad debt that will eat up your cash flow. I'm talking about bad debt that won't allow you to grow wealth. So as you're tuning in, thank you for going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I appreciate that. When we get to the next 100 mark on the YouTube channel, we are going to give away some money. So make sure you go subscribe. I think we're at like 494 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Of course, I have people that tune in on Facebook and on TikTok. And so when we get to 500 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to probably give away about $50, and we'll figure out how to cut that up. Maybe I'll do 25 and 25. Somebody get some lunch for free. You know, it takes about $25 for lunch now because of inflation. But we're definitely going to give away some money. So thank you for going to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Latanya McLaughlin. Appreciate that, and I appreciate the support. We are coming close to the hour, guys. I got maybe about 3 or 4 more minutes that we're going to talk. And I mentioned something earlier, like I said, about the different things going on and changing in the marketplace. It shows that even with the Target CEO having to step down and be replaced, it shows that if you make a financial statement, if you make a financial stand, you can create change. And so Target has seen a decrease in sales, guys, recently because people started boycotting Target. They quit spending their money at Target. And as a result, Target has seen a negative effect in their sales. And so they have to change leadership. Now, they've already decided who they're going to put in place. It'll be interesting to see what the new person decides to do that they put in place. Now, as far as the financial success of Target, it's neither here nor there for me. I'm not invested in Target. But what I want you all to know is if people quit putting their money in Target, that means they had extra funds that they could put somewhere else. There are some places in your life where you're taking extra money and putting it, and it may not be in Target, but you can take those funds and put them in other places that are beneficial to you. Thank you for tuning in, Sonny Yarbrough. Happy to have you tuned in here on the Coach Steele's Finance Training. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Coach Steele's Finance Training. What am I telling you all on today is you can take your money and put it in other places to grow your wealth. This is one of the greatest times and opportunities to start tightening up your budget. There are investors, there are people who are holding assets right now that are getting to a point to where they can no longer maintain the assets that they're holding because they may have mismanaged funds. They may not have calculated things properly, and they're going to have to come off those assets. Yes, they're struggling to maintain them, and their asset is becoming more of a liability to them. But just because it's a liability for them doesn't mean it can't be an asset for you. And so now's a great time to get yourself in position to build wealth because the price of things are getting ready to drop. And when they drop, you want to have cash on hand. You want to be able to have money in the bank or position to be able to leverage to acquire some of these assets that are getting ready to come available. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward. Of course, I like real estate. I invest in real estate. I have multiple doors. I have a few rental properties. And so as we get closer to 2025, I am on the lookout. I am hunting for some multifamily unit properties because I believe they're going to come available. And I'm positioning myself. Why? Because I'm doing the basics. So many people want to rush and try to get rich quick. It comes when you want to grow wealth. It comes with doing the basics. Don't despise small beginnings. Start with the basics and grow your wealth. And as you do that and you grow your finances and you increase your financial literacy, you will see opportunities in front of you that you didn't recognize before, and you'll be able to jump on them because financially you're ready and mentally you're ready. And you learn how to be prepared in every season. And you eventually get to the point to where you'll see opportunities and seasons of growth coming before they get to you, and you can prepare yourself for those moments. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training once again. I want to make sure that each and every one of you have a very productive Saturday on today. Continue to increase your financial literacy. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to my website, steelsfinanceacademy.com, and go order a t-shirt. Make money multitask with the money man. Take your money, throw it in different assets, make that money grow, make that money work for you. You all be blessed and have